So we'll start out by going through the docking station. We want to show you the hardware and the features of the docking stations, how to set them up, and then we'll go through the operation and calibration and just show you how everything works.
Okay, so I'll start by, so I have this SDM totally disconnected right now. This is the gas in, gas out button. So when you install the GX6000, you pretty much just push it in to have it installed in. The main part that I want to go through would be the side of it, where, let's see, yeah.
Hold on, sorry guys.
So the side of it, this is the SD card slot right here. USB to PC connection when you want to connect it to the PC to the computer. And this is the printer USB connection as well if you have the little printer, and it only really works with one printer that we have. The LAN connection for the internet if you want to connect it to the internet. On and off switch, power switch or power jack, and this is where the gas ports are. As you can you can't really see, but it only has 3 connections: gas 1, gas 2, and gas 3 right here. That one is a little inlet air port where you can kind of connect a filter, which comes standard with it. And so you just pretty much put the green tube in to the airport, and that should work out fine. If you have more than 3 cylinders, you can always use, this is an additional accessory. It's the SV3, and it has about 6 gas ports. So there's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 over there, and then the filter goes right in there and it just clicks on there. So that's how you would use it if you want to connect it, and it actually just show you how to connect it. It just fits right through here on the side, and that is it. It comes with a little bracket, just connection brackets in the back, so you can just kind of, if you don't want it moving around, you can just kind of screw it in there, and it fits right through. So,
can I interject one thing? As far as like our competitive units, other calibration stations, that number of gases, the input gases, is a good differentiation between us and the other ones. We have 3. That's more than most have, and then the ability to have 6 is way more than anybody else has. It's the most that any calibration station that is on the market really can offer with the SPs.
Yeah, the SPs is pretty good.
Yeah, most instruments won't need more than 3 gas cylinders, most single instruments, but if you have 5 or 6 docks connected together and you have multiple instruments with multiple sensors, you can connect everything at once, and the dock will select the right gas and apply it when the calibration or bump test is being done. So for like a rental company, if they wanted to set up a permanent docking station and it got switching sensors in and out, it gives them the ability to not have to switch gas bottles around every time.
So for today, I think we'll do, any questions?
Erika, this is Glenn. Does that automatically sequence the gases?
Yes, it does. So I'll show you guys later how to do like a calibration. I have 2 here, so we're going to chain them together, and I'll kind of show you how to set up the inlet ports, and pretty much whatever GX6000 you have in there, it's going to recognize what sensors it has, and it's going to run that gas or whatever gases it has automatically to each station. So, any other questions before we go through calibration?
One thing I wanted to talk to about the hardware, Erika mentioned the brackets on the back.
Oh, right.
If you have multiple stations, it's a good idea to use the brackets to connect them together just to secure them. And one other thing that we offer is a mounting bracket that you can use in DIN rail. So if you want to mount it to a wall, you can mount it to the wall instead of having it on a tabletop. We've had some people ask for that just because they don't have a lot of space. So we do offer a kit for that where you can mount the docking stations to a wall. And if you had anybody that wanted to mount it in a vehicle, that would be another good way to mount the docking station, is by using the brackets. And so we sell those as an option.
Is it the DIN here?
Yeah, that's the
In the show.
difference.
So this is where the brackets would go, like right here.
So you mount the
Some right
brackets
here
to
and
the,
underneath
you mount
as well.
the DIN rail brackets to whatever you want to mount the station to, and then you can just kind of slide it in and out off on the brackets.
Oh,
Do you have
also,
you have to use power cords for each dock, or is there one, can you gang them together so you can?
No, they gang
Right.
together. Erika will show you, actually, if you look at the side here,
here, there's one
yeah.
here.
Show them that one. So when you connect them together, there's a connector that connects power and also all the gas connections. So when you, and the communication. So when you gang multiple docks together, you don't have to do any connection of additional power cords or tubing or anything like that. It's all done via the interconnection of the docks. The only thing you need to know is that we have two power adapters, which Erika was about to mention.
Right. So this is the single adapter. So if you just have one station, you can use this one. It looks just like the regular one for the SDMs and the GX 2009 chargers. If you have more than one, you would want to use a multi-charger or multi-adapter, which is this bigger one, and this is how it looks like. I know it has that big cord.
So with the big power supply, you can have up to 10 connected.
Yeah.
And one thing to make sure you notice, the single charger, or sorry, the single adapter looks very much like the one with all the other instruments, but it's not the same. So you need to make sure you kind of keep those separated so you don't accidentally grab the wrong one.
One more thing I want to mention when you're putting together SDMs, it kind of looks like this at first, but you would want to disconnect this if you want to connect this to something else. You'd want to take this out, and this is actually how it looks like when you take it out. And it has little plugs. It's just a little white plug that's kind of plugged in on each one of them. So you'd want to disconnect that and then connect them together like that. And if you want to put like the little brackets on the back so you can secure them together. The one on the very left side would always be your master. So that's where you would do all your controls. And the one on the very right side, so if you have 10 or whatever connected, you would want to have the plugs in on the very right so the gas doesn't leak through. And you won't get any flow fails or anything like that. So make sure it's the ones on the very right is plugged in when you gang them up. So yeah, I think we can do calibrations now if you don't have any more questions with the hardware of it. All right.
Bruce, did you say the AC power cords are the same on the dock, or not the same as on the dock as they are the instrument?
I did say that, yes.
So they're not interchangeable like all the other instruments are, where you can interchange the AC power cord.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do a calibration, and I'm going to just connect two docking stations just so you can see how it works that way. Well, I have two GX 6000s. One is just a standard 4 gas right here, which I'll connect to the second port. And the other one is a 6 gas. It's a standard 4 plus HCN plus the high range PID as well. And as you can kind of see over here, I have an SD card here connected. So you'd always need to have that. You can still calibrate without it, but it's going to have a little pop-up that says SD card not connected, do you want to continue, or something like that. So you'd want to have that so it can keep records, because by itself it does not have any memory at all.
So that's a difference with between the other docks. The 6000 dock uses an SD card mostly because it has a lot more memory that way, so you can do downloading of data in addition to calibrations and bump tests when you're using it as a standalone mode, and it'll save all the data to the SD card. So it'll still function. You can still do bump tests and calibrations without the card, but it won't save it anywhere except to the instrument. So that's why we give you
Hey, Bruce. Bruce,
Yes.
This is Mark Malaysia. I just wanted to let you know, I was using the GX 6000 charger plugged into the SDM, and then when I changed it with the SDM charger, the screen came on.
Oh,
So
good.
it actually gives power to the cal station if you use a separate charger, but it won't turn the screen on. That's what the problem was.
I think it's a lower voltage. I think that's probably why you had enough voltage to get a power LED, but not the screen. So that's good.
Gotcha. Yep. So good to go.
Very good. Thank you.
Awesome. So I guess I'll do a quick calibration on both of these. So they have different setups. To kind of show, I have the gases connected here. The first one is pretty much, what's this? So this is the isobutylene that's connected for gas 1. I have the 4-gas in gas 2 and HCN in gas 3 over here. Power cord is connected. This is for the LAN. For later, we're going to show you how to connect it to the LAN, but for now, let's just turn it on. And yeah, and both the screens are going to kind of turn on, if you can see. You can see it. So that's how the screen would look like. If you have 10, all of the screens would pretty much look like this one, and you just have the main control on the very left side. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you what the different parameters are. There's a function in the unit tab. You can kind of see it. Yeah, I think that's better. Yeah. So there's 2 tabs on the top where you can just kind of touch it. There's the unit tab, and there's also the function tab. The function tab would have your bump, alarm check, cal, and configuration. Your unit tab would have the detector on, where you can turn the detector on and off. You have a download button. The download button is only good for the standalone mode if you have the SD card connected in there. So you can download information from your GX6000 to the SD card. And there's a little active button as well over there where you can kind of click it and check and uncheck it. Right now it's not really doing that because this isn't on. Oops. So right now I just kind of pushed in the gas in, gas out outlet just to show you that the active button can be turned on and off right there. So you can just kind of click those, and it will pretty much disable that station. So I'm going to go back to the function tab. So here's where you can do the bump, cal, alarm check, and configuration. We'll go through the configuration first, and that's where you can adjust the bump test parameter, cal parameter. Inlet is where you can set up where your gas cylinders. The date you can also set up, language, and password. I'm going to go through the bump first. So once you click that, it's going to show like times for air, gas, and air purge. Tolerance is also there. There's a little thing here that says fast. It's a fast bump, and it just pretty much means that if you run a bump test and within the first 10 seconds it goes within 50% tolerance or whatever you have set for your tolerance, it's going to pass that bump test, so it saves you gas. Another thing you can check is an auto cal. So if it fails a bump test, it's going to pretty much go directly to calibration. There's also an alarm check setting here that you can check and uncheck, and also an auto print. And that pretty much means that after the bump test, it's going to do an alarm check, which is just going to sound the alarms and light the alarms and check if everything's good. And it's going to give you a pass or a fail. Auto print would mean it's just going to print whatever results it has for that bump test. So that is pretty much it for the bump test. You can change the air flush and kind of just get the number up. 15 seconds is the lowest. You can also click it and put whatever number you need. So I'll just put 15 on there. Whoops. Yep, okay, 15 seconds on there, and okay. And go back. And then let's go through the cal, which is kind of similar to the bump. It just gives you the air flush time, gas time, and air purge time. Also the alarm check you can also do on there, and auto print as well. And then the inlet. So the inlet is where we would want the gas. You would want to pretty much just match whatever cylinder you have on that inlet. I showed you earlier I have gas 1. I have for isobutylene, which is 100 ppm. So you can just pretty much set that up and click that. If you want to change it, you can change it to pretty much whatever you need to, H2S, CO, Cl2. But for this one, you'd need VOC because that's what we have. You can also change the concentration and pretty much input whatever number you need to. I have 100, so I'll just click that. And you can also change the units. For this one, it's really just clicking it ppb, ppm. We need ppm, so that's what I'll put there. So that's gas 2, and there's also an active and inactive button here. So that just pretty much means that gas 1 would be active. If it's inactive, it won't run that gas. So make sure that's checked. So we'll go to gas 2, which I have the standard 4 gas. So just make sure the concentrations match the cylinder, and you can change them around as well. And same with gas 3. I have HCN 10 ppm, which is what I want, and make sure everything is active on that gas port. As you can kind of see, there's still the gas 4, gas 5, and gas 6. That's just for the SV3. We can't really use it for now since we just have 3 gas ports. So I'll click OK on that. The date, you can set up the date and the time. Different formats is just what it's showing you. 24-hour format would change it, the time. You can change the date by clicking on the actual date and pretty much just move it around, or you can also click it and enter whatever number you need to. Pretty self-explanatory. So that would be the date. Language, just pretty much different languages you can use. I'll go to English just because. And then the password, you can either click, that just means you'd have a password before you can do calibration or anything like that. You can do a password change and enter whatever password you need to, and it's going to ask you to confirm it. I don't really want a password, so I'll just uncheck that and go back. Okay, so now we'll do a calibration. I have all my gases set up, so you can kind of see. So this one would have the HCN, and it's going to run the HCN gas first. This one just has a standard 4 gas, so it's pretty much just going to run gas 2, and it's going to skip gas 3 and 1. So I'm going to start the calibration now. So right now it's going through the air flush, and you can see the status there. You can hit the cal cancel button if you want to cancel the calibration. So you just hit yes if you want to. So as you can see, there's 2 boxes here. It just means there's 2 stations connected to it. SD card is green, which means there is an SD card connected. There's also a little bar here, like a loading bar that kind of tells you how long the calibration is or how long it's going to take. It's like a regular loading bar. The unit tab you can click, and it's pretty much going to show you the real-time readings. So right now it's just airing it out, so it's kind of all at 0.
Erika, if you have multiple dots hooked up, does one console control all of them?
Yes, exactly. Only the one on the leftmost would control it. So you really just need to power up that left one with the multi adapter, and also just put 1 SD card as well. You don't really need any SD cards on the rest of them.
Yeah, only the master dock, which is one on the far left, has the function and the unit buttons. So the function button shows the master dock settings and controls, and then the unit button just shows what's going on with the instrument that's in that particular dock.
So right now it's at gas 2 PAL, which is the standard 4 gas, which you can see on here. It's reading that.
So that's the answer to your question, Dwayne. It will automatically apply the correct gases to the correct instrument as it goes through the calibration. And it'll skip the ones that don't apply to a particular instrument.
Okay, and those blocks at the bottom, all they do is designate what dock is active, right? I mean, there's not a, I mean, there's not like a screen across when it's completed, all green and it's completed. It's not a measurement bar. They just let you know that there's 2 docks operating. Is that what that means?
Bottom one shows you how many docks are operating. The long bar right above that is a progress bar that tells you how far you are into the process. You'll notice that one's moving.
Yeah, so you see this one says gas 1 cal, this one gas 1 skip. Gas 1 is the PID, so this one doesn't have the PID, so it's just pretty much skipping it and just pretty much putting the gas to whatever GX6000 needs that gas. If you can see, there's also like this kind of a status icon over there. It just means it's doing the calibration on both of them at the same time.
I'm assuming you pressed down the red button on both of the units before you ever started.
Right, right. If you want to do a calibration, you would want to press the gas in, gas out, the red button on top.
On both instruments at the same time.
Right, exactly. On pretty much on all the instruments, or else you're going to get a low fail.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so right now it's doing an alarm check because I've checked that option. Just kind of steer it. And once it's done with the calibration, you can go to the Unit tab, and it's going to display all the information pretty much on the, if it passed or if it failed, you can see it on this screen. Once you hit cal end, that screen would also disappear, so just to let you know that. But it is saved to the SD card. You just can't view it on the screen anymore. There's also the two status icons over here. They were orange triangles before. Now they're green squares, which means the calibration passed. Before it means it's the orange triangle just means it's going through the calibration. So I'm going to hit cal end, and it's pretty much just going to go through the main screen again. That's pretty much how you would do a calibration. Just do a bump test too.
We can do a bump test too.
Yeah.
Sure. Bump test is pretty much exactly the same, except of course it doesn't calibrate it. It just does a bump. But yeah, let's go ahead and go through that
Sure,
so they can see what the screens look like.
Okay, so I'm going to do a bump test. Whoops. Again, there's that bump cancel if you want to cancel it. And status is still going. It means it's going through both of them. You can also go through the Unit tab to kind of see what's happening with the gases real time. So gas 3 bump, and that one's skipping it because it's HCN, and it's running gas 3 first because it's HCN, which is it's programmed to do that. There's also that little progress bar over there.
The second unit, did it turn off or is it down?
It's still on.
Oh, okay.
It's going to do an alarm check.
Okay.
Yes? Oops. Okay.
Go ahead, Glenn. Did you have a question?
No, I just want to confirm, but I'm going to wait till she gets to it. When she goes to print the data and all that, this will only print, I mean, that printer port is only good for our printer. It will not work on any printer, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, it only has the driver for the printer that we supply built into the docking station.
Okay.
So if you wanted to use some other printer, you would have to connect it to a computer or download the data to a computer and then print it from the computer.
So once the bump ends, you can also, again, press the Unit tab to view the results. And it's going to alternate between the alarm check and the bump result since we did the alarm check.
The green squares went away.
Yep, I think it's just too long. That's why.
Yeah, that's because once it completes a successful test, it turns the instruments off after about 10 seconds. So that's why those instruments went away, because they're now turned off. And you can see on the second dock, it has a button that says detector on. So that's telling you if you want to turn the detector on, you can press that button. And while it's on, it'll show detector off, meaning if you want to turn the instrument off. So once it completes a successful bump, it automatically turns them off right away.
So I'll go ahead and hit bump end right now. And so if I actually want, for example, I'd want to calibrate the first dock, but not the second dock, I could just click this active button right here, which I would need to turn the detector on first. And it should turn blue. There you go. So I can click that, and it's pretty much going to disable. It's going to say disable on that docking station if it's disabled. On the first dock, you can go to the Unit tab and hit that, but I'd have to turn this on first. There you go. And it's going to say disable. So if I just want the second dock, I can still just press disable or active on that, and it's going to run the gas through there. This one is disabled, and you can kind of see the status on the bottom. The one with the dot in the middle means it's connected and it's active. If it's just a circle, it means it's disabled and not connected. So if I do a bump test, it's just pretty much going to bump test whatever is active, which is the second dock. So I'll go and put that back. And so now that both of them are active, you can see that there's the circle in the middle. So yeah, I think that should be it for the standalone. Do you guys have any questions on calibration, bump testing?
Well, I'm doing mine as you go along. I have a single dock station.
Okay.
And my GX 2000 and my 6000 is a fixed gas monitor with HCN,
Okay.
PID, and the standard 4.
Okay.
So mine is coming up saying inlet error. It's passed on all the calibration. I mean, all the bump tests is passed, except for the HCN. It's got dashes, 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 and no information. In the instrument, the 6000 instrument, I have it set up to calibrate only 4 gases because I do not have a HCN gas.
Oh, so you don't have HCN gas, you said?
I do not have HCN gas, so in the 6000 I have the calibration procedure for 4 gases only, so it will reset the date when I calibrate. But in the docking station, it's yellow all the way around the where on the function tab is the screen is actually yellow, and then it's flashing between CH4 oxygen, everything's green, the VOC's green, passed, and then it says HCN, there's nothing there. But my question is, why does it say an inlet error?
It's saying that, Todd, because when the 4 gas setting that you have in the instrument is the setting that tells it whether or not to reset the bump date or the cal date when you do a successful bump or a cal. But in the docking station, it still allows you to do that, but it's just telling you that you didn't do a complete bump or calibration. The inlet error means you don't have HCN selected as one of your gases. So it'll still show as a pass for the sensors that are active that did get bumped or calibrated, but it's going to tell you, just to let you know, you didn't do a complete calibration.
Okay, all right. Good enough.
that incomplete calibration will still reset your calibration reminder if you have it set for just 4 gas.
Yeah, I have it set for just 4 gas, and I was surprised that it did bump the PID, because in the software of the unit, I just have it as a 4 gas, not all. You know, you can choose either 4 gas or all, and I chose just 4 gas.
Right.
And I was surprised.
That setting only affects whether the cal date or bump date is reset. It doesn't disable bumping or calibrating those other sensors. It just says that the reset of the date is not dependent on those being bumped or calibrated.
I got you. Okay.
So you must have a 5 gas cylinder then.
I do. I have a 5 gas cylinder.
That's another point I wanted to make. Mike talked about competition. As far as we know to date, we're the only ones that have that 5 gas cylinder, and that's a big advantage for calibrating and bump testing, both in saving time and also saving money. You don't have to have another cylinder or another demand flow regulator. Erika set this up with a separate PID gas just so we could show you a 3-bottle sequence, but we wouldn't have had to do that. We could have used the 5 gas and done it in 2 steps.
I want to point out one more thing about that 5 gas cylinder is that Air Liquide who makes it for us, is the only one who knows how to make that. If Gasco or Norlab or anybody else tries to make it, they won't make it right because it doesn't really have the concentrations that we're calibrating to inside it. We had to go through a lot of trial and error and balance to get the, especially the isobutylene concentration to read correctly. There is a suppression of the isobutylene reading caused by methane. So I'm just saying that because we did have one incident where Gasco supplied some cylinders like that and they didn't work.
It's huge for me against race systems down here with distributors as well as end users when I tell them we can do it with 1 bottle.
Hey, Bob, this is John Foster. Has Norlab tried to make that 5 gas concentration, do you know of?
No. And we had to go through a lot. It took us about 6 months of trial and error to get the mixture right.
Okay.
There's a secret sauce to it.
There's a secret sauce, and we can't give it out because it's proprietary with Air Liquide and us.
Oh, that's true.
We wouldn't be fair just to give it to somebody else.
Okay. Oh, that's the only one? Okay. Okay, so
Ready to switch?
yeah. So we're going to switch now to the, I'm sorry. We're going to switch now to show you the computer program.
Where do you put it? Just on the right here.
Yeah, don't you, over here, yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Is it showing? Okay, there we go. Okay. How do I shrink this thing?
You can't see that on here.
Oh, you can't? Oh, okay. Oh, no, I mean, how do I try that? This one?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. One difference on the 6000 docking station also is that there's only one computer program. Remember on the other docking stations you had a separate program if you wanted to use it as standalone versus connecting it to a computer all the time, and we've merged those into one program. So you only have to have one application and it consolidates all the data together. So that's another big improvement with the 6000 dock. George asked a question earlier, which I answered, but he said, what if, so we get an SD card instead of a USB flash drive now, and we do supply a USB to flash drive adapter with the docking station with the SD card, so you can still plug it into a computer that doesn't have an SD card slot on it. So I'm just going to go through the software. I'm going to kind of stick to the things that are different with the 6000 dock because there's a lot of functions that are exactly the same. So I'm not going to go through all those because you should all be familiar with those already. Let me go ahead and get started. So this is the main screen. Like the other docking stations, you have the icon button and the details button where you can show all the instruments just as icons, or you can show them as all the detail with all the settings. And then you also have the only connected units. Right now I don't have anything connected to this computer. I'm just going to go through the software with you. So really the main difference with the SDM 6000 program is this SDM button. Pretty much everything else, the configuration, the cylinders, the logs, that's all going to be exactly the same. But the SDM button lets you change settings on a SDM that's connected to it. I'll show you that in a minute, but first I want to show you the logs button because there is a change there. One of the things that many of you and many of our customers asked for was the ability to have the docking station connected to a LAN network without a computer so that you could get data from a series of docking stations scattered around and not have to have a computer connected to each one of them. So as Erika showed you earlier, there is an Ethernet port on the docking station, and we do have that connected to our local RKI network right now. And so in the logs button, these two buttons are new buttons. The SD import button is where you would import data from an SD card if you were using a dock as a standalone and you wanted to take the SD card and take it out of that dock and bring it somewhere and load the data into a computer or onto your network, you would use that SD import function. The net import function allows you to import data from any docking station that's connected through its Ethernet port to your local area network. So that's, again, a big improvement that many of us have been asked for and we now have with this docking station. So to use that, first of all, your docking station has to be connected to a local area network port, an Ethernet port, and that port has to be connected. To bring in the data, you click the net import button, which is for network import. And it'll come up and it'll show you any docking stations that you've already brought in data from. If you want to find out which ones are connected, you can use the search button, and it will go through and it'll do a search. So now it's going out through our network and trying to find any docking stations that are connected. And you can see that the message changed to say that one instrument was found. And that happens to be the one that's here in the training room. But it is not connected to this computer. It's connected to a network port that's in this room. So we're bringing in the connection now through our local area network here through our server.
Now, why is it saying one instrument when we have two connected here?
Because that's a good question. Glad you asked that. That's because the data all goes to the master unit. So even if you have 10 connected, all the data is flowing to the SD card in the master unit. So it's showing you just the connection to the main unit. So if you had 10 or 5 or 1 daisy chained together, it's only going to show you one connection.
So that basically is just one dock, Bruce. That's not instrument. That's just one dock that's found. Is that right?
It's really one dock or one group of docks, right? When it refers to instrument, it's meaning the docking station, not the GX6000 that might be inside that dock. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. So now that it's found the dock, I can select. So I'm going to select this one because this is the one that I have connected. And if I want to bring in the data, I can bring in either bump test and calibration data, or I can bring in log download data, or I can bring in both. And if I click the start button, it'll bring the data in. It'll tell me that it's communicating with that dock. And it tells me that I brought in 5 files. And so I can view those files now if I go back to the normal log sorting. If I pick one of the other docs and try to bring in the data, it'll tell me that it didn't find it because that particular doc was connected at one time, so it's part of our, it's not connected now. So it wasn't able to connect to that one and wasn't able to bring in any data. So that's a really
So do you have to
feature.
do you have to know what dock is connected, Bruce, or does it automatically select that?
No, you can just check them all, and it'll bring in data from whichever one is connected. But it'll only bring in data from the ones that are actively connected to the network. So if your network is down for some reason, it'll give you the not message for all of them. And like I said, it'll still show everything that's ever been in the database, that's ever been downloaded to the database, but it'll only show you communication with any that are connected at that particular time.
But the screen doesn't show you what dock is connected.
No, it shows you all docs that have ever been connected. When you do the transfer, it's going to show you which ones are connected.
You can also go through the serial number. There is a serial number at the back of the SDM, so you can kind of just check if you don't want to do this part.
Where do you change the name of the docking station at? Is that something that is modifiable?
Yeah. How do you do that?
Can you just highlight the line and then click edit?
Oh, there we go. Sorry. We've got Kimberly in now. Kimberly joined us. She's been away for, she's kind of a slacker. She left for a while, but had a baby while she was gone. So everybody congratulate Kimberly. And thank her also because she wrote the manual for the docking station and spent many, many weeks communicating back and forth with Rika and getting everything tweaked and getting it right, and spent a lot of time writing the manual. She trained all of us, although, if we didn't get stuff right, like I just did, it's because I didn't listen, not because she didn't train me right. And she also wrote a really nice training program for this docking station, which I'm going to be sending to you all after the meeting, that will make it really easy for you to learn and also train somebody else about how to operate the docking station. So anyhow, if you wanted to change the name so you knew where it was, as Kimberly said, highlight that one and look at it. And if you want to change the name, you can put anything: Fire Station Number 3, RKI Training Room, whatever you want to call it, and you can edit that. And then that way, instead of just seeing something that says SDM, you'll know within your facility or your network where those particular stations physically are located. And then, as Glenn said, if it's not connected, you can also remove it just to clean it up so that it doesn't show up if it's not connected. Okay, anybody have any questions about that? See, let's connect the docking station so we can show them the SDM button. We're going to go ahead and now connect this particular docking station to my PC. Let me go back to
Hey, Bruce, is printing the report the same? You got to export the data?
Download the data from GX6000.
What do you mean by that, Glenn?
Well, if I want to print like a calibration report or an event report for a particular instrument, do I have to export it out and then print it? I mean, or is that like one step now where I can actually print it off this?
Yeah, there's a certificate button.
They said it was in slot drivers.
I think Spec can use it.
Yeah.
To restart the software?
I shouldn't have to restart it, right?
The external
The
device.
computer by the time,
Where at?
down the bottom.
Down there on the bottom right.
Right.
Over here. Over there.
Oh,
No,
okay.
not here. Yeah.
You're talking about over
Yeah,
here.
right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
To the left.
Click the arrow that's to the left of the, yeah. Yes,
Oh, there
it's
it
still
Still
making.
installing, right?
Oh, okay.
Is it searching for a driver? There we go. Click here for start.
Still installing it.
Over the serial port.
I think it's searching for updates or something.
There.
There you go.
Okay, we're good now. Okay, so where is it?
It's
Okay, now it's doing something.
flashing.
Okay, so
There it
there
is.
we go. Okay, so now I've got communication with my docking stations, and you can see that my SDM button is now not grayed out. So this is another new button that was not on the previous docking station software. So here is where I can set a lot of my settings if I'm going to use it as a standalone or as while it's connected to the PC. So my bump settings, my gas settings, a lot of these are the same as what were on the other docking station. I also have my other settings, like we said, same as the other docking stations, power saving. If you want to automatically download the data, if you want to manually download the data. With the docking station now, even when you're in standalone mode, you'll recall with the old docks you couldn't download the data from the instrument. You can only do bump tests and calibrations. Now we can actually download data to the SD card on the station without it being connected to a computer. And I don't know if you noticed before, but when we have the camera on the docking stations, there's a download button on there that you can use to download the data. One thing to note is that download does take quite a bit of time. It takes about 15 minutes to download the data from an instrument. So just so you know, when you're doing demonstrations and things like that, I generally say don't demonstrate that. Just tell them that it can do it, because otherwise you're going to be kind of locked out for a few minutes. Although you can cancel it, but that's about how long it takes to download an instrument, all the data that's in an instrument. These controls here are pretty much the same as in the other docking stations, except for the language. We only had one language in the other docking programs. This just shows you the settings for the docking station, which are our network settings. And then this button is also a new feature that we were asked for. I think John Foster may have had a customer that asked for this. This allows you to set up the docks so that they do a bump or a calibration. Let's see, can you do it down? A bump or a calibration or an alarm check at a particular time of day and a particular day of the week. And we've had people ask for that where they say, you know, we want our guys to put the instruments in the dock every Friday, and then we want to make sure that they're all calibrated on Monday morning when they pick them up without them having to do anything. So that's what you can use this function for. If you want to bump test or calibrate, you can set them up to calibrate on Sunday, every Sunday at 1 o'clock a.m. And it will then go ahead and do that at that time. So when the guys come in the morning to pick up their instruments, they're going to all be done, turned off, charged, ready to go. That's kind of a cool feature that we didn't have in the other docking stations.
Hey, Bruce, can you set it up to bump test on a daily basis and then the calibration, say, on, you know, once a month on a Friday or whatever? Can you do both, or you have to pick one or the other?
You have to pick one.
Okay.
And you've only got one setting, so if you want to calibrate it, you pick that one, or if you want to bump test it.
Hey, Bruce, if you want to print a report just for bump tests and calibrations, that doesn't take 15 minutes, does it?
No. That you would go to your log file. This is just like the other docs. And then you see you got this bump test and calibration report where you can print from there. So I don't have a printer connected, but if I wanted to do that, I could print it from there. If I wanted to print it, let me just finish one other thing. There's also a certificate form that you can use, which is kind of handy because it allows the customer to put in their own name and address, and if they want to add some information, comments, and things like that. So they can print out a form, like they could put their logo in here if they wanted to, so that they can print out a form that looks, like a real certificate, as opposed to just a little spreadsheet file.
Is that manufacturer in there in purpose, not RKI, but Reek and Kiki?
Let me go back to that. That is hard. Appears to be hard coded. Yeah.
Okay.
Bruce, a question on the auto cal or the auto bump testing. And the example that you gave, they put it there on a Friday and then they want it done on Sunday so it's ready when they come in on Monday. I am assuming they still need to press the red button down on the instrument on Friday afternoon when they put the instrument in there, correct?
That's correct, yeah, because that's what allows it to turn the instrument on at that time, and also that's what flows the gas to the sensors. So the only thing they have to do is put the instrument in and push that red button. That's it, and all the automatic settings will take over from there. That's pretty much everything we were going to cover in the training. I hope everybody's had a chance to at least use their docs a little bit to get familiar with it. But hopefully this training will have helped. And like I said, I'll send you a document afterwards that will help even more and give you everything in writing so that you don't have to remember everything. But the doc is a very powerful doc. It's got a lot of new features. We really need to push those with our customers and let them know that we've made these improvements. Some of the things that are in here are things that we've been asked for over the years for the other docs. So we're trying to listen to you guys and add features and try and stay current with what the market is asking for. Okay, anybody have any questions? Anything they wanted to add? Bob, you want to add anything?
No.
Did you tell them about the new sales target for docs?
Well, that they are each expecting to sell a couple hundred of them next year. No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. That'll be at the Christmas party. We'll talk about that. Okay, I think if that's the case, then we're done. Thanks to everyone for taking the time out on a Friday. Sounds like somebody's starting the holiday early.
Let's get the barbecue grill out.
Okay, good. Well, thanks everybody, and have a great holiday weekend.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.